I Doubt It podcast with Brittany Page and Jesse Dollamore.
Episode 961 of I Doubt It podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Dollamore, joined today by Brittany Page. Let us begin by stating the obvious. We are absolutely living under the weight of a rogue police state run by a court-adjudicated rapist, someone who is a pedophile protector at the very least, and an oligarch greedy and seething for power. And his masked secret police force has yet again gunned down in cold blood a member of the Minneapolis community on video. Where do we go from this? Seems to me, Brittany Page, to be by design, to be an element of Donald Trump's plot to try to push the American people to action so he can declare martial law and send in the troops so more carnage and more bloodshed can take place.
I have a lot of thoughts, and we're going to try to keep this as organized as possible. We were planning a show, and it involved things other than this latest murder at the hands of ICE agents in the streets of Minneapolis. But we obviously had to pivot. We're starting this a little after 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And so I just want you to be aware of that, because we're going to be giving you verified news updates from like the Star Tribune, people who are on the ground, things that are reputable. But those things can change. And I just want to say, I don't think it's a coincidence that this happened the day after. I don't know how many thousands of people were in the streets yesterday in downtown Minneapolis protesting ICE. There were hundreds of businesses that closed their doors to be in solidarity with their neighbors. They put signs out that said, "We are closed today to be in solidarity with our neighbors." I mean, I think I read a figure of like over 700 businesses closed their doors to be in solidarity for the march.
And we're talking about regular people too, like moms and dads and community. This isn't like masked Antifa scary leftists. These are just moms and dads out there who are witnessing what is taking place and are saying, no more. We're not going to do this anymore.
And it wasn't just that. It was hundreds of clergy that shut down or were protesting at the Minneapolis airport, and they got arrested. We're talking about people that were out in negative 20-degree weather with their eyelashes frozen, their beards frozen, putting themselves in very difficult conditions in order to stand against this tyranny. And that's what this is. I mean, I spent so much of my formative years surrounded by people who made tyranny a feature of their personality. They like fused themselves as a human being to the Gadsden flag and walked around talking about "don't tread on me," and wasted all of this time in an imaginary land wherein they would, come to the rescue of Americans who were under siege from a government that was out of control. Where are those people now? That's happening now. The government is out of control. The government is executing people who are opposed to the administration in the streets in broad daylight.
It's an assassination squad at this point. It is an assassination execution squad. If you watch the tape, and we have it, we're going to play for you the initial interaction and the shooting, content warning in advance. But I want to piggyback off what you just said, because, I grew up around similar people, these Gadsden flag, "don't tread on me" types. We've heard it time and time and time again from these unhinged lunatics who act like they are going to single-handedly fight back against the government and tyranny, and I'm not going to have the boot of some tyrant on my neck.
Cosplaying patriots.
Yeah. But how many times have you heard the Second Amendment is there to protect our First Amendment? Where are those fucking goons now? When literal murders and assassinations and summary executions are taking place in the street, they're not there because, It's black and brown people who are targets, and quote unquote race traitors. It's the people who go against their own kind to take up for the marginalized communities, the oppressed communities, the murdered communities in our country.
And I want to say right now, don't get it twisted as though I'm like, where are these people who were committed to committing acts of violence against a tyrannical government? Why aren't they doing that now? Where are the acts of violence? I'm not saying that. I'm saying these people have always pretended that they would be out in the streets. They're not out in the streets. It is mothers, fathers, families that are out in the streets in the negative 20-degree weather, that are out there following ICE agents, documenting who they are taking, asking for personal information, knowing that they could be killed for peacefully protesting, knowing that they are putting their bodies on the line in order to stand against the tyranny by documenting crimes. And that's what was happening in this case with this man. We don't yet know his name.
It's too early. This happened not even an hour ago. This
isn't a situation where, I feel like we knew Renee Nicole Good's name pretty quickly. We knew the officer's name pretty quickly, I think within hours. We don't know a lot of information right now. But what we do know, because people film, and please let this be another reminder, you need to film. You need to film the police. You need to film ICE agents. You need to film Border Patrol. You see a Border Patrol person, you see ICE agents out in the street, you stop what you're doing, you get your phone out, you go document it.
Yes.
You don't know when they're going to kill someone and when you're going to be the one who films that so we know what happened. And that's the case here. Someone was driving, it appears, in this first video. They capture how this all started before this man was executed in broad daylight on the streets of Minneapolis. You're going to see a struggle and
him holding his phone, actively
phone,
filming the police.
And he puts his hands up when they go hands-on with him first. They're the one who initiated contact, which is so often what we see, right? And he puts his hands up and backs away. He's not the aggressor in this situation. So let's play this video and see how this whole interaction started.
Let's go around. Fuck off! Pieces of shit.
Now, this is out in front of a business called Glam Donuts in Minneapolis. As you saw there, as you heard there, we'll describe it for you, is exactly as Brittany just said. It's a man with his phone at his chest, pointing at the officers. They push him. They physically touch him to push him back onto the sidewalk. He lifts his arms, and then the car passes, and we lose the rest of what took place.
Yeah.
Until someone from across the street is filming a melee of what seems to be 8 or 10 masked ICE officers who have this individual, this man, pinned to the ground. One guy shuffles, readjusts the bear spray canister in his head so it can be a weapon, a literal cudgel to smash into the face of the man that multiple ICE officers have pinned to the ground. He's of no threat. He is of no danger to them whatsoever. They have him subdued, and they're smashing his fucking face in with the tear gas canister, with the bear spray canister. And then out of nowhere, rounds are fired. 6, 8, maybe 10 rounds are fired at what seems to be point blank range as they back away.
Before we play it, and a warning that it's graphic, but it's important to watch because it's important that these things are documented and that we know what's going on and what the government is doing. You're going to hear people say that he was resisting arrest. And I want to just touch on that really quickly. There's several points in response to that. Number one, the punishment for resisting arrest is not the death penalty. These ICE agents are being hired and put through training in 47 days? Because Trump is the 47th president. Isn't that what they did? They changed the training to 47 days.
Like that. They're also They've dropped the education requirement. Many of these people are functionally illiterate. They can't pass open book tests. They have criminal cases involving gun charges pending while they're going through training. Many of them have to be admonished for sexual harassment of other recruits while they're there. There's no standards at all for these people.
Yeah, and so I've seen videos where these people, like tiny little Greg Bavino, picks out a woman in the crowd to shove out of his way because, potentially if he were to shove a man out of the way, he'd like tip over. And so he like picks a smaller woman than him and pushes her instead.
Every time.
And they go hands-on with people, which is a strange thing, right? Because in some circles, in some places, in reality, I guess, when you go hands-on with someone, that's an initiation, right?
Yeah. It's not a de-escalation, certainly, which is what the training of an actual police officer is.
Right. And so when someone's not doing something to you, as an ICE agent, putting your hands on someone is an initiation. That's an aggressive act. And think of these people that are getting kidnapped and shoved into cars and abused and disappeared and sent to detention facilities when they have asylum cases and they came here legally or they're citizens. You don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know what's going on. Of course you're afraid. Of course you're going to resist. Of course you're going to say, this is tyranny. I don't want this to happen to me. And so someone is so justified in reacting with fear and reacting with, no, I don't want to be taken. I was filming. I wasn't doing anything. You guys put hands on me. So imagine what this man is thinking as he was just standing there filming and all of a sudden he is surrounded. All of a sudden he's taken to the ground. All of a sudden he's having his head beat in.
By a mob of angry, malicious, brutal ICE agents, masked, anonymous, armed agents of the state, of Donald Trump. There could be Proud Boys in the mix here.
And then they kill him.
They're doing too much, man, and they keep pushing people,
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they fucking kill that guy? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Not again! Are you fucking kidding me? That guy's dead. Yo, we need people on site.
So think of the response of the people that are watching this. That's also a sign that this was not right. That someone who was watching this entire exchange is stunned and cannot believe that they just took out their guns and murdered someone on the street again. And of course they would. Why wouldn't we? We've been talking about this.
Right.
Jonathan Ross shot Renee Nicole Good in the face, murdered her. They immediately removed her body from the scene. They carried her out, witnesses said, like a sack of potatoes. They didn't even carry her out on a stretcher.
They erased all evidence of the crime.
They took her limbs and they carried her out. They removed her car. They tried to, we just learned yesterday, launch a criminal investigation into Renee Nicole Good after they murdered her. They were going to investigate her. The judge had to say, you can't criminally investigate a dead person?
Yeah. That's how unhinged this administration is.
Yeah.
That's exactly, it's all retribution. It is all revenge.
And so here's what the Star Tribune is reporting. They write here, reporter Jeff Day writes, man shot by federal agents has died, police chief says. The man shot by federal agents this morning has died, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara tells the Minnesota Star Tribune. Several witnesses have already been transported to the Whipple building. ICE attempted to order local police from the scene, but O'Hara refused, sources say. O'Hara instructed his officers to preserve the scene. The BCA was en route to the scene. All available MPD officers have been called into work, except dog watch, overnight shift, and days off canceled.
So what they're trying to do in this case, and I'm talking about ICE, I'm talking about Donald Trump's masked anonymous Gestapo, they tried to destroy evidence of the crime that they committed, the murder that they committed. And the police chief, O'Hara, in Minneapolis said, no. You're not going to do what you did last time. You're not going to box us out from actually investigating murders in our city. The number of gun violent incidences in Minneapolis this year, more have happened at the hands of ICE than at the hands of civilians. That's where we are in America with Donald Trump, the law and order president, claiming that he alone can fix it. Without him, the streets would descend into chaos. But it is with him that they descend into chaos. Citizens are being murdered, assassinated by his urban assault squad. And J.D. Vance is out there one day saying they have absolute immunity, and then because it's such a ridiculous assertion, having to walk it back. We'll get to that.
I just want to say, as of 5 minutes ago, Minneapolis police chief is speaking, and he says that the man who you just heard executed by ICE agents in the street is a 37-year-old white male who is a Minneapolis resident, and he says we believe he is an American citizen. Of course, it wouldn't matter whether or not this person was a citizen or not. This is still brutality. This is the brutality that we're used to seeing at this point.
Let's touch on that just for a second, though.
Yeah.
Murdered by immigration and customs enforcement agents of the federal government. So next time you hear some kind of a sympathetic idea about ICE and, oh, they have a valid job, they just need to be better trained. These 7 Nazi fucking collaborators who just voted to fund ICE this year, Tom Suozzi and Marie Gluesenkamp Perez and Jared Golden and Henry Cuellar and the rest of these, Don Davis, the rest of these Nazi fucking collaborators, done, gone, out. Abolish ICE. It is no longer a radical position to hold to abolish ICE, to get rid of this assassination squad that is the personal private army of Donald Trump, meant to not enforce immigration law, but to disappear people to countries or continents they've never been to and assassinate Americans who disapprove of the policies of this administration.
I do want to quickly pause because, you know, something that happens to me is I get extremely overwhelmed by all of this. And I think about ways that I wish I could be helping. I think about ways that I wish I could be on the streets with the people who are pushing back against this tyranny. And if you are in that spot, if you're watching this and you're like, okay, but what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do to help? We are going to, again, link to a website that is standwithminnesota.com. And this links out several different mutual aid funds that you can donate to. But if you get overwhelmed by the list, because it is quite lengthy, they have just links here to donate to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, which is providing assistance to hundreds of people with families detained by ICE, they write, or the Immigrant Rapid Response Fund, a fund assembled by a coalition of Twin Cities foundations committed to getting assistance out the door as quickly as possible. So there are things that you can be doing to materially support the people who are on the streets fighting back against this if you wish that you were there and you can't be, like many of us.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend, if you can please just do one thing for today, donate to a fund and help in that way.
Let's talk a little bit about this. I don't think there's many of our audience who would deny what is taking place before their eyes. They're not going to deny the reality that they are perceiving, that they are witnessing, that they are hearing. But for those of you who may have sympathies for law enforcement, if you love listening to propaganda and swallowing it hook, line, and sinker, this is by design. Donald Trump's ICE are now on film. I mean, it was months and months ago here in the streets of Washington, D.C., where a bystander was filming them harassing and brutalizing someone in the street. And they said, "You're ruining our country." To which the ICE agent turned, masked, secret, anonymous, and said, "You liberals already ruined it." That was a shocking moment for many, many people who thought, a cop shouldn't be partisan. It shouldn't be about politics. It should be about doing the job, enforcing the laws, being someone who is there to serve and protect, like you see on every fucking cop car in America. But now we're learning that they are creating a database. Where are all the RFID government tracking patriots out there when they hear an ICE agent recording the license plate of someone who's just filming them, someone who's just a legal observer, and then when she says, "Why are you taking my plate down?" he informs her that, well, we have a database and you're going to be on a list of domestic terrorists.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So have fun with
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
So this interaction perfectly maps on with what we personally experienced on the ground in Minneapolis 2 days after Renee Nicole Good was murdered by ICE. These agents are smug. They are proud. They
Pompous fucking cunts.
are very in your face with how proud they are of the job that they're doing and how they don't care. I mean, they don't care that they're trampling on your rights. They feel emboldened, and they know that they have the weight of the entire federal government to defend whatever action they take. And so think of that. I mean, that's really scary. I do want to note that because we didn't mention this with the murder that we just talked about with the man that we don't know his name yet, that DHS is telling Fox News that the man that they murdered had a gun. And they posted a photo of the gun. It's making the rounds on Twitter. So they're claiming that he was armed. Now, we don't know whether or not he was armed.
Wait. I thought that the Second Amendment crowd loves people to have guns, loves people to have unregistered concealed permits. They want to be able to be in a Subway sandwich shop and have their guns and shop for their lettuce in the Walmart with armed to the teeth.
It's the only way to be safe,
Yeah.
right? Is to be armed.
Weird that it only is for them. It's not for anybody else.
There's several things that you need to remember here. One is 60 Minutes just did a great segment on the woman in Chicago who was shot 5 times by Border Patrol. Now, they wanted to charge her and ended up having to dismiss the case due to all of the lies that they told and the lack of evidence given the lies that they told. They had alleged that this woman, Ms. Martinez, who is a citizen, was boxing in their vehicles and ramming their vehicles. That's what DHS said about her, and that's why they had to shoot her 5 times. And they shot her 5 times. She shows all of her bullet holes in her body on the 60 Minutes footage, which we'll link to in the description. They lied about everything. There's video footage documenting it. Her attorneys got Ring camera footage of how the car was not boxed in. She was not ramming the vehicle. Like, they just straight up lied.
Right.
And so you can't trust what these people are saying. We also had the instance recently of 3 detainees have been killed in 44 days in one single facility in Texas, one single concentration camp, internment camp in Texas. And one of the latest men, Mr. Campos, Geraldo Campos, the first thing that DHS told us was that his death was due to medical distress. Then they said that he was attempting to take his own life, and the guards went in to save him from taking his own life, and in the process killed him.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. If someone's going to kill themselves, the only way to stop them, Brittany, is to murder them before they can murder themselves.
Yeah, sounds legit. And then what happened is the family called the medical examiner's office, and they were recording the call. And the medical examiner's office said that they were possibly preparing to rule it a homicide. Now, it's great that the family got that recording because oftentimes medical examiners work with these institutions, these authorities, to protect them when they commit wrongdoing, when they commit abuses. Mr. Campos's death has now been ruled a homicide. So they lie. DHS lies. You cannot trust them. We don't know that this person was armed. And even if they were, you don't get to execute people on the streets. Listen, you have a hard job, right? You're out there arresting people, but you're the one who wants to have that job.
Do we want to leave it to illiterate high school graduates to decide who gets to live and who gets to die based on the committing or not committing of a crime that is not a capital crime? I would say no. We are getting to an inflection point in America, and you see it in the streets of Minneapolis just yesterday when tens of thousands of people took to the streets, regular moms and dads, just family members, people in the community, people who would normally not be politically active in a march. They are realizing We are living in dystopian times. People are starting to wake up, and I hope that there are rational voices around Donald Trump to let him know this will end poorly for you. You can't kill us all, Donald Trump.
I also want to say that things are very bad on the streets of Minneapolis right now. ICE agents are throwing tear gas at people. They are using chemical agents to harm peaceful protesters. I just saw footage of reporting of a man who was being pinned down by multiple agents, and he's shouting that he's a U.S. citizen, saying that he's done nothing wrong. He says, "You're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to kill me. I've done nothing wrong. My name is Matthew James. I'm a U.S. citizen. You're going to kill me. Is that what you want?" As his wife is standing to the side screaming. This is what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis right now.
Yeah, also, all they do in their pompous, unearned, arrogant, these weak-minded little trolls who have the power to usurp your constitutional rights, to detain you, to arrest you, to put you away without access to a lawyer. They are threatening not just American citizens, obviously. Their chief objective is to go out and harass and brutalize an immigrant community, black and brown folks in Minneapolis. And that's what they're doing. They're going, and they're not let into the residents, so they just level threats. All right, we're going to come back and kidnap your entire family.
Inside one home in Maine, a resident capturing this threat from an ICE agent at his door.
We're going to come back for your whole family, okay?
No, okay, no problem.
And that was Maine, not Minneapolis, but don't confuse that that's not also taking place in Minneapolis. We've witnessed it. We were there. This is dystopian nightmare fuel that is taking place in America in 2026.
I also want to say, sorry, because we're grappling with this kind of breaking news, and I'm trying to insert it as we're talking, that one of the things I wanted to touch on when you talked about the previous clip of the database and how they're filming people's faces to add them to the database, and they're filming people's license plates, is that, Patriot Front was just out here marching in D.C. yesterday because we had the March for Life. And Patriot Front is a white supremacist gang that rolls around in U-Hauls. And
they're the ones with the blue shirts and the khakis and the white masks.
Yeah, they cover their faces like pussies.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is fascinating to me is that the Trump administration is creating a database of people who are opposed to the administration, people who are peacefully protesting, people who are documenting their crimes. But the white supremacist gangs that are out here roaming the streets and showing up to black neighborhoods in, what is it, Ohio, where they went last time and they were terrorizing the community there?
Right.
Was it Ohio?
Yeah, Ohio.
Are you creating a list? Are you creating a database of all the white supremacist Nazis that are in the streets?
No, they're not going to create a database of people who are allied with the administration.
Yeah, of course.
Do not mistake. Nazis support Donald Trump. Nazis support the objectives of creating a white ethno-state in America, which is absolutely what they are intending to do as they attack black and brown people in the streets all over the country, walking up to them and asking them, "Where were you born?" Not, "I just witnessed you commit a crime. We have probable cause that you are an assailant or a criminal, a suspect in a crime." No, it's just, "Where were you born?"
Right.
Women, men, anybody. They are kidnapping children off the streets and using them as bait. And school officials are witnessing it. They're being interviewed about what is taking place, and they are probably more horrified than the rest of us because they've dedicated their lives to the education and well-being of children.
Yeah, and, we have the case of little Liam.
Liam Ramos.
Little Liam has gone viral. He was photographed with his Spider-Man backpack and his very cute, blue hat, and he was used as bait by ICE in order to go up to his home's door and knock on the door and try to get other people to come out of the house. It's a horrifying situation. His photo has gone viral for a reason, because you see a 5-year-old being detained by ICE agents and you think, what are we doing here? right?
Remember the outrage, if you're old enough to have lived through the Elian Gonzalez thing in Miami, when federal agents broke into his home and they had a rifle trained on him, and there was universal national outrage at that. But we've become so desensitized to that not you, not many of you, but so many Americans are like, well, this is just the new normal, that we have a Gestapo force in the United States of America, led by Nazis, staffed by Nazis. Many, many ICE agents, they are in this to create a white ethno-state. These are Proud Boys who are Western chauvinists who want to stand up for white identity. That's what this is. This isn't a normal law enforcement agency, and that's why it needs to be abolished, as they maraud through the streets and kidnap 5-year-old children.
Well, and let's talk for a second about little Liam Ramos, who was detained with his father. His father came here under asylum. He has an asylum case. So again, people are like, do things the right way. Well, that's a legal pathway to citizenship, is coming here under asylum. That's what he did. And yet all of these ICE agents, they're showing up at courthouses to arrest people. They're showing up now in emergency room parking lots to arrest families that are trying to obtain medical care, emergency medical care for their child's nose so that won't stop bleeding.
Churches.
These are...
They're going to churches where, oh my God, it's sacred. You can't go and protest a church unless you're ICE, I guess.
Right. Now, there's some reporting from the Marshall Project that reported on a detention camp that is holding children in detention like little Liam, and they report on conditions like the food, which is reportedly contaminated with mold and worms. They report on the condition of the anguish, the mental anguish that the children are going through, that they are in so much pain, that so much psychological stress that parents said they were hitting their own faces or wetting themselves despite being potty trained. This is potentially, I'm not sure if we know for sure where Liam ended up. This is potentially where Liam is right now, in a facility where, in a detention camp where, in an internment camp, where they're feeding him moldy worm food and putting him under so much psychological distress that he could be potentially harming himself. I mean, think of that, right?
Yeah.
Think of little Liam, that sweet little baby that you saw, and think of the people that are putting him in conditions like that for what? Because he's not white?
Yeah. Wasn't born here, not special enough to have been born in the United States. This is, I mean, Adam Serwer couldn't have been more correct when I think he coined the phrase that cruelty is the point. The cruelty is the point. The fucking cruelty is the point. Otherwise, when they deport people, why would they send them to a continent? If you're from South or Central America, why would they deport you to Uganda or some other African nation? Cruelty is the point. The chaos is the point. They want to create fear and drama. It's what they want.
And there's also been kind of a recent push where I see some left-wing commentators online start using the term identity politics derisively, and saying that we need to distance ourselves from it. They start saying not everything's about race, right? Kind of like falling into this trap, this right-wing talking point. This is why you don't fall into that right-wing talking point. It actually is about race. And it actually, for the Trump administration, is about white identity politics.
That's
Everything
right.
is identity politics. But people use it as a slur about certain groups of people, while white identity politics is over here taking over and enacting their tyrannical government. Now, PBS's Liz Landers recently sat down with the superintendent of the school district that Liam Ramos is from. This is Superintendent Zena Stenvik, talking about Liam's case specifically.
Unfortunately, at this point now, for those of us living in the Twin Cities, it's very common knowledge that ICE agents are bursting through doors. If you crack open the door a little bit, they're bursting through into apartments, apprehending people. They're even breaking down doors and leaving broken doors or no doors now. So, opening the door with ICE agents looming, it's not as easy or as clean of a statement as one might suggest.
Now, this is a topic because DHS is saying that when they attempted to apprehend Liam's father, he abandoned Liam. and that they tried to knock on the door and tried to get the family to take Liam, and the family refused to take Liam.
Very quickly, again, more lies. Within 20 minutes of Renee Good's murder, they called her a domestic terrorist. Everything is a lie and a propaganda move until they have to move the goalpost and then tell a new lie.
Of course.
Continue. I just wanted to really reinforce that you cannot trust any statement made by this government.
Well, and especially when this superintendent is doing this interview, because community members were on the ground. They watched what happened. There were numerous teachers there. There were people that know Liam. They said, I'll take him. They essentially put the family in a Sophie's choice if what they're saying is true, right? They said, come on out. We have your kid. Well, the mom has another child.
Right. God damn.
And so
God damn.
You're just telling us that you're doing Sophie's choice situations now with families. Is that what you're telling us?
Actual Nazi shit.
I mean, it's horrifying. And so the reason that she's talking about this is she's trying to get you to see. She's trying to put you in the position of the thought process there of if the mother was trying to figure out, should I open this door? What should I do? I have another child in here.
An impossible decision. Not euphemistically said, an impossible decision.
And so, it's useful to hear from people like this superintendent because she knows the family. She earlier in this interview, she talked about how she has been in Liam's home. She saw the backyard where he builds snowmen with his brother and how his home is filled with toys and it's filled with joy and he's well taken care of and he was happy. And now he's in that facility with mold and worms. And I mean, these people that are signing up every day and they clock in and they put a mask on their face and they go and they use a 5-year-old as bait. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Who are these people that are waking up every day doing this? It is disgusting.
There will be consequences when all of this is over. I think those of us who care and those of us who can put pressure on, and that's all of us, calling your congressperson, 202-224-3121, call your congressperson. There need to be tribunals set up. If you committed crimes under the auspices of Donald Trump's Nazi regime, you will be held accountable. There will be people who flee the country and go to some ally of Donald Trump, Argentina or Russia or some other fucking despot country. We need to hold these people accountable, and I want to see them hung. I want to see them dead for what they've done. They are murdering people in the street. I'm not talking about vigilante justice here. I'm talking about court-mandated, going through a process like we did post-World War II in Nuremberg, where we have the Hague and we hold trials and hold people accountable. You don't get absolute immunity. That's not a fucking thing when you're putting kids, feeding them worm infested food and mold covered food and killing American citizens in the street, executing them. There needs to be accountability.
So I do apologize because with everything going on, I do not remember what the second clip is about, but this is still the interview on PBS with Liz Landers talking to Superintendent Zena Stenvik.
I'll tell you, there's really nothing normal about our daily lives at this point. This surge has been going on for a few weeks now, and it has really changed our standard operating procedures. We've staff have been working, around the clock and overtime, walking children home. People have been donating different resources for us to get to the families. We do have an online option that families can select so that children are learning from home. But let me stress that is not the best practice. That is not what we want. We want our children in school, in their classrooms, with their teachers and with their classmates, because we know that that's what's best for children. We all learned that during COVID. But there's so much fear. And I'm not just talking about so quote unquote illegal people, people who are here with legal documentation are fearful, as I think there have been many reports that ICE agents have taken citizens of the United States. So there are very many ICE agents right now in our community. They are driving around our schools, circling our schools. I've seen it with my own eyes. They are at our bus stops, following our buses, and they have been on my school property multiple times.
Instilling fear. It's by design. Fear, harassment, brutality, and murder. And these kids in these schools know what has happened to their community members. They know because no one can escape it. They know that a woman was murdered in the street, Renee Good, and that these men are the ones who did it. They know that. And ICE knows they know, and ICE, when they circle the schools ominously, menacingly, they know the psychological terror that they are imposing upon children.
Yeah, so I appreciate the school superintendent coming forward and giving that interview, because we need people who are witnessing these things to come out and talk about what they're seeing, and to talk about how, every time you hear Kristi Noem talk, she's saying that they're going after the worst of the worst. And here they are circling schools for babies.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man backpacks that are just trying to learn, that are just trying to have a good day, that are just walking home from school.
Who are now at risk of being sent to a concentration camp where people are dying in record numbers. Last year was the deadliest year for being someone who was sentenced without due process to be in an ICE detention camp, which is a civil. ICE, by the way, they're not conducting criminal raid. This is a civil matter that they're doing. People are dying because of the enforcement of civil law in this country. And when they die, like we were talking about earlier, where, no, he was trying to commit suicide, so we had no choice but to kill him. People on Fox News, ghouls like Jesse Waters, who are there, who are put in their position to forward propaganda from an authoritarian state, what do they say? They justify it.
You're also saying that someone was murdered at a detention facility. It's already been debunked weeks ago. The guy was trying to commit suicide, and the people were trying to save his life. All right, these detention centers are amazing. You get dental care. You get free health care. Have you ever seen the kind of concierge health care services they have at these detention facilities?
Yeah.
It's where did this guy come from? This guy came from Ecuador without any running water, Jessica. He's lucky to have these types of services. Let me just understand your position.
Fucking ghoul.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Well, first of all, everything he's saying is a lie. Lies. One, it's not debunked. You have one narrative from the family, and they've got recordings, and you got the other narrative from the proven liars in the Trump administration. So that's not debunking because one narrative competes with the other. The other thing about the medical care, that's not happening based on the reporting from Judd Legum.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. I just want to say, Jesse Waters is the reason that when I'm in public now, I really start looking at people more directly, because I'm hoping to run into him in the airport one day, just so I can go up to him and ask him, how it feels to be such a spineless little weasel, a spineless worm, as some say. So yes, popular information, Judd Legum, an essential publication that you need to subscribe to if you haven't already, which we will link to in the description. This week he reported ICE has stopped paying for detainee medical treatment. ICE halted payments in October, and the situation will persist for at least several more months. In this, he writes, during the second Trump administration, the population of migrants held at U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE facilities has exploded from below 40,000 in January 2025 to over 73,000 today. Under the law, ICE is required to provide necessary medical care for this population. While ICE employs some of its own medical staff, it often uses third-party providers. ICE's Buffalo Federal Detention Facility, for example, houses over 500 detainees and has no doctor or dentist on staff. So you just heard Jesse Waters talking about how great the dental care is. You get free dental care. No, you don't. Judd continues, ICE, however, has not paid any third-party providers for medical care for detainees since October 3rd, 2025. Last week, ICE posted a notice on an obscure government website announcing it will not begin processing such claims until at least April 30th, 2026. Until then, the medical providers are instructed to hold all claims submissions.
So think about this. Sorry, let me say this. Think about this. It's not just healthy young men, women, just healthy adults who are being interred in these concentration camps. There are people invariably who are going to have medical conditions, from diabetes If you don't have your insulin, you die. People who are undergoing chemotherapy for cancer treatment, they're not going to continue that treatment. They will die. That's by design. That is by design. Cruelty is the motherfucking point with these Nazis. How is this any different than the medical experimentation that was done on Jews and gays and gypsies during World War II? How is it any different? They are knowingly not treating diseases that are fatal, leading to the death of people who have committed a misdemeanor by entering the country without the permission of the Secretary of State. But being here in the country without permission isn't a crime. This is a civil matter, and they're being murdered over it.
Well, it's also, just think about what prisons are like in this country. They murder people in prisons in this country. You think that these places are operating any differently? I mean, think about the video that came out, 4 months ago, 6 months ago, of Robert Brooks in New York being beaten to death by prison guards. He was beaten to death by prison guards, and they tried to cover it. They tried to cover up beating an inmate to death. These places are horrible. They employ people that are sadistic. And, you know, for all of the talk about the danger of immigrants walking our streets, the people you should really be afraid of are people who work in prisons that are sadistic, who during the day torture and beat people and then go out in public and are like pretending to be normal members of society.
Yeah.
Horrifying stuff to imagine, truly.
I want to talk about a little bit of a juxtaposition here. Because obviously we're witnessing horrors at the hands of Donald Trump's mass secret police. And that's what it is. Look, I do get criticism. Though you shouldn't be calling them mass secret police. They are federal agents. No, the fuck they're not. These people are rogue. They're acting outside of the bounds of their authority by anybody's estimation other than Donald Trump's. They're abusing, they're brutalizing, they're assassinating, they're executing people summarily in the streets of cities in America. And you've got a contingent of people who are protesters, who are legal observers, people who go into their communities to ensure that children get walked home safely and don't get kidnapped by police. And I want to talk about this particular story because two moms do just that. They go out into their community every day and they ensure that the children get home safely, unmolested, unkidnapped, unmurdered, unrun down, unbrutalized, right? Mm-hmm. And they are arrested by ICE. And then in the course of being arrested, they're cuffed in the back of a car. An ICE agent begins to have a medical episode, begins to pass out, begins to have seizures, begins to be able to, he's choking on his own tongue, his own saliva. He's dying. And they take care of him and are still abused and detained afterward. Listen to this, and I really want to impress upon you the difference between us and them.
Every afternoon after school, two moms in Brooklyn Park go out in their neighborhood to make sure all the kids get home safe from the bus stops during this tumultuous time with federal agents. Yesterday, when they were doing that, they were detained by ICE, they said. And what happened next is the story.
There was a driver, an ICE agent in the front passenger seat. We were handcuffed in the middle. Where the third row was collapsed, down behind us was a third ICE agent facing the other direction. I looked forward at this agent who was having a seizure, and I said, he's having a seizure.
Prior to that, I heard him say, I'm not feeling so well. And he started to fall backwards in his chair, and his hands started to shake.
Driver kept driving, was just like, fine. And I then said, he's having a seizure. You need to pull over. He's going to choke. Like, you could hear his airways starting to be filled by his tongue and his fluid in his mouth.
At that point, Heather and Tippy said the ICE agent pulled over and uncuffed both women because they have basic CPR training. Heather is a PCA. Tippy is a former kindergarten teacher.
Then they started getting her out of the back. I was trying to remove his gun so that he could lay on his hip to be in the recovery position, and helped him through. He had at least 3 seizures that we both saw. And then he started to lose consciousness, and I have a niece with epilepsy. And so just knowing that he needed to hear calm, kind words.
Yeah, Tippy was fantastic with that.
Telling him that he was going to be okay and that he was going to be safe. And we had called the authorities and I was going to be there with him until they got there.
The Brooklyn Park Police confirmed to me 911 was called for a seizure in progress. The women, after the man was helped, and they helped him because the agents didn't seem to have medical training, they said, the women were then handcuffed again and taken to the Whipple building because of their actions. They were given a citation there by the feds. I asked the women why they helped when the officer who was part of the team detained them.
There was a human being in front of me, and despite his guns and despite the terror he has been inflicting on my neighbors, he's still a human. He still has loved ones.
They're boys, basically.
I mean, I'm a mom of 3 boys, and these were young men. I still see human no matter what I look at and no matter who I look at.
And that really is the fundamental distinction. And, you know, it reminds me of like how we've talked about the detainee that was killed in the Texas facility, who his death has been ruled a homicide. And you have been seeing people online that will post his criminal record and using it as a way to justify somehow that ICE agents should be able to choke him to death in a facility because he has a criminal record, even if crimes that he has committed are abhorrent. You don't get to do that. And we've created a system in this country, and we try to abide by certain societal structures and rules that don't have us living like that, where people get to execute somebody because they decide to. When we lose that aspect of humanity, things start to get concerning. And like I already said, if you are comfortable having someone who can like torture people and murder people in these facilities walking among us, that's really scary. Having known personally, people that are psychopaths in my own life, it's scary to be around those people, and they're dangerous to have in society. And when you are comfortable doing that to someone in detention camps, that's what you are. And it's scary to have you walking around in society with power.
Even more dangerous is removing any semblance of qualification or barrier to entry for people to hold the power to be able to do things
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people we know who we've thought, are they going to try to be an ICE agent? Like that?
Oh, yeah.
People, the worst of the worst, if we're talking about the worst of the worst, are now flocking to go be an ICE agent to be able to legally, under the auspices of Donald Trump's laws, brutalize people. That's who these people are.
Right.
They are brutalizing people gleefully.
But
they look forward to it every day they check in.
And it is remarkable to think these people don't even have first aid training. I mean, these women were like, hey, your buddy's having a seizure, guy. And he was just like going to keep driving. And like, does he know what the word seizure means? Maybe he's like that guy who went to the
Shirley.
Yeah, he didn't know what word did he not know?
Benevolent.
Right. Yeah. Like,
what's malevolent? What's this word?
Yeah, maybe he didn't know what the word seizure meant. He didn't recognize that his friend was having a medical episode. I mean, you learn first aid in high school, right? I mean, I don't know. I did.
Well, you certainly should be learning it in your training to become a federal agent, where you may inflict damage on someone so much so that they need medical assistance, certainly.
Right. So think of that. I mean, that's alarming that they had to uncuff them so that they could give this. And I mean, you hear the humanity in that speech, and that's where all of this activism in Minneapolis comes from, is humanity, valuing other. And we don't have that right now. And they're armed with guns, and they don't care about your humanity. And that's what's really scary, because, I mean, what are you supposed to do in that situation when you're met with someone who's armed and doesn't recognize your humanity and doesn't care? That's what's really scary. And, you know, they took them to the Whipple Federal Building, which is where we were.
Yeah.
When we were there, where protests are continuous because it's a processing facility. One thing I want to note that's interesting that the Star Tribune is reporting is that the witnesses of this murder today that we've been talking about were detained and taken to the Whipple Federal Building.
Yeah.
Now,
I heard that.
Why are they detaining witnesses to this murder and taking them to the Whipple Federal Building? I really hope that because there's a woman who was opposite the video that we showed you at the beginning. You could see
against
her.
the wall.
Her video is going to be key. She was very close, and she was right next to it as it was happening. Her video is going to be very key. I'm concerned about her, and I'm concerned about that video.
Yeah.
And I hope that she offloaded it off her phone. If she was one of the ones who was taken, I hope she offloaded it from her phone and got it somewhere else where it can be shared.
Well, two things. One is, I think it's by design as an intimidation tactic, if not erasing and destroying evidence. But also, that's why it's so important. Some of these people just go live on TikTok. They go live on Instagram. So then it's on a server somewhere, and it can't be messed with by the federal government as easily. They're obviously creating databases, putting pressure on tech companies. The new TikTok terms of service are a nightmare. We're not going to have time to get into it today, but it is very alarming. Let's finish with this. I want to drop the number, and then we're going to play a clip of Donald Trump's his own lawyer calling him a toy Nazi, Ty Cobb. But we want to hear from you. Listen, this community that's built up around this show is nothing short of spectacular, and we want to be here as a resource to lift one another up and encourage you in times that are dark, in times that are depressing. You can reach out and leave a voicemail, 657-464-7609. And of course, as always, you can email, idoubitit@dollemore.com. Ty Cobb is a guy who worked for Donald Trump in the first administration as one of the lawyers for the White House, in the White House counsel's office. And since, he has been someone who has been a vocal critic of Donald Trump when appropriate. He's not out there banging the drum and being a bomb thrower against Donald Trump, but he seems to me to be a guy who's, I don't always agree, but he always seems like a dispassionate individual who is just talking about things from a fact-based perspective as an officer of the court kind of a deal. And he was on with NBC, I think it was Kristen Welker, and he said some very alarming things that hopefully do wake up that certain portion of the population that still hasn't come around to identify Donald Trump as the clear and present danger to our liberal democracy that he is.
Oh, not at all. I mean, you can put, the toy Nazi Bovino up all you want and let him, spew lies. But the reality is they're way out of bounds. And keep in mind, you have to look at this policy, which, is not lawful. It's clearly in violation of the Fourth Amendment. But the purpose of this policy is to protect the agents for, from the civil liability that they have when they do bust down a door. Because, now they can say we thought it was lawful because our management, told us we could do it. It's the same type of papering over war crimes and other violations that Pam Bondi and the Justice Department have been doing throughout this process, along in combination with Hegseth and others, where they have OLC memos that justify the of people in boats, justify a wholesale number of things that, frankly, the courts have started to reject. I mean, keep in mind, this was a week where it started, I think, in terms of significant developments with a court in Virginia, canceling Lindsay Halligan, making it plain that the masquerade of her as the U.S. attorney had to come to an end, that it was a charade and that it was over, and she left the courthouse later that evening with her tail between her legs. This is something where, unfortunately, the courts are a lagging indicator on. But when the courts take a look at this policy, they will vitiate it, and it will no longer be acceptable.
So it's certainly remarkable to hear a former Trump attorney say that Greg Bovino is like a toy Nazi. I don't know a lot about Ty Cobb. I don't know, a lot about what he did. There's something that happens when you cover the news where you have to do like an order of priorities of things that you follow very closely and things that you know a lot about. And then there's things that you're like, not as important. And sorry to say, Ty Cobb.
Well, they all kind of blend together. Well, because there's so many people who were opponent or allies of Donald Trump, working for Donald Trump, under the employ of Donald Trump, who are now ardent Trump opponents because they got so close they saw who the fuck he was.
Wow. you just kind of made me realize it's actually very important to keep tabs on these people. I think a lot of these people in the current Trump administration are probably counting on that, right? The number of people that were Trump allies who are able to, hunker down for a bit and then come back up and restart their career and be completely unaffected by their previous wrongdoing or their previous role in anything.
Yeah.
It actually, I need to rearrange my order of priorities here. But I do want to share an update because Homeland Security is now giving their account of the fatal shooting. Now, before I read this, I'm going to do what you did earlier. Rather than after I say something, front load it and say DHS lies. We went through numerous accounts where they've been caught lying and had to throw out cases, and they just lie continuously. We know that, before they had even processed anything that happened with Renee Nicole Good, Kristi Noem came out and called her a domestic terrorist. Now, I'm going to read you their account, but I want you to remember the video that we played for you at the top of the show, which showed how this interaction started, because they are lying. You saw the video of how it started. This is what they say. This is from the Star Tribune again, I believe. The Department of Homeland Security said federal agents were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis at 9:05 a.m. Saturday looking for, quote, an illegal alien wanted for violent assault. Quote, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agency said in a statement, the officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene. DHS said the man had 2 magazines and no ID, and that more information would be coming. So they say they approached him.
Right.
I'm sorry, an individual approached them with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. That is straight up not what happened.
That is a fucking lie.
You saw it. Lie. And where would we be without that person in that car filming that interaction? That's the only video I've seen of what happened before this shooting happened. I don't know who that person is. We don't know a lot of the names of these people that film these videos, but thank you for filming that.
Yeah. We're going to have to end it there. We're obviously going to continue to follow this. Videos will follow. We have an impending, potentially devastating winter storm that's bearing down on us here in Washington, D.C. All over. There's like 150 million people that are under threat
so please
of power
be safe.
outage. Yeah,
oh my God.
Freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
The feel-like temperature outside right now in Washington is higher than many places across the country, and it's below zero. So
please be safe out there. Please, I hope everyone was prepared. It seems like everyone in DC certainly is, or at least if they made it to Trader Joe's in time before it was cleared out.
Yeah. Anyway, we love and appreciate you very much. If you appreciate our work and you want to join our community on Patreon, please consider it. For $2 a month, you can help produce this show. Go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. We would love to have you on board. $2 a month goes a long way if we're able to marshal the size of our growing audience. We love and appreciate you. We'd love to hear from you. 657-464-7609 is the voicemail line, and you can also email the old-fashioned way. I doubt it at dollamore.com. Be strong. We will survive this. It may get worse before it gets better. For Brittany Page, I'm Jesse Dollamore, and this has been I Doubt It.
I Doubt It podcast with Brittany Page and Jesse Dollamore.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Episode 960 of I Doubt It podcast. I am your host, Jesse Dollamore. Joined today, as I always am, by the lovely, talented, and indeed scholarly Brittany Page, everyone.
Boy, has it been another week. There's been a lot of communication that we've received from people. We're going to read an email. We're going to get to that. We always do call outs. We would love to hear from the audience. We love to hear from you guys. So make sure you are calling with your thoughts. Make sure you're emailing your thoughts.
Oh, that's a great cue for me to read the phone number, 657-464-7609. And you can email us the old-fashioned way at idoubitit@dollamore.com.
And before I read an email from a longtime listener, longtime supporter of the show, I want to do a couple of call outs because we are in the face of instances where YouTube will restrict content or demonetize content. And this happens based on certain stories that we cover, certain language that we may use in those stories. For example,
especially in this climate right now when we have a Nazi force of mass secret police kidnapping and murdering citizens. I mean, it's tenuous, and these media companies are bending the knee too often.
Yeah, like I just did a video about Grok. Grok is the chatbot that Elon Musk has handcrafted and that he calls spicy, as it is creating and disseminating child pornography on X, formerly known as Twitter. And that video was demonetized in part. And that can tend to also restrict it in the algorithm. There are other complications when YouTube takes action against your video.
Also, you didn't show any of the images.
No.
You just talked about it. Just talking about the treachery is being suppressed.
Right.
Yes. It is. They are throttling the reach because, they have no incentive to share that content when they're not making money off it too. Instagram is banning it's a nightmare. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just saying we're diversifying some of the work that we're doing. So you may be seeing more video uploads to our Facebook pages. You have a Dollar More Daily Facebook page. I have a Page Perspective Facebook page. That is an effort to diversify the ways that we are trying to get this information out. So if you are on Facebook, we're going to link to both of those Facebook pages below. We would ask that you go and like those pages so that you can get that content, share it directly on that platform. We're also on Substack. Both Jesse and I just attended a HUD whistleblower forum with Senator Elizabeth Warren, where two HUD whistleblowers gave testimony on the ways that the Trump administration is refusing to enforce the Fair Housing Act. And I wrote about that. So I'm going to link to that as well. So you can subscribe to our Substacks. We both have Substacks. So there's many different ways that you can be supporting the content that you like to watch, the stuff that you like to read, and helping it get boosted in the algorithm. Because I think people sometimes don't know how these algorithms work.
Yeah, I often see people I know, personally know, who I think want to boost the reach of the thing that they see online, and all they'll do is comment or like, wow, they don't like it, they don't share it. Like, you got to do all the things to communicate to the algorithm. That I know this sounds whiny, but let me also say this. It's not just our content. There's an organization out there, and I think they're working with Midas Touch, but Status Quo, they're on the ground right now in Minneapolis. I don't know those guys. I don't know anything about them other than what I've seen and the content that I have consumed from them. And they're doing the work.
Oh, yeah.
They're putting themselves in danger. They're in the field. They're in the thick of it. Support channels like that. It's not just us. It's like we always say about Patreon and everything else. If there's somebody else out there that does more for you, that brings you value, support them. In this moment, we need to be doing everything, hitting on all cylinders to defeat fascism. It's not about, what about our content? That's not why the fuck we're here.
Well, and especially related to Minnesota, the best way to get the word out about what's happening in Minnesota is to share, comment on whatever video you're watching to help amplify so that people can see it. A lot of what we're seeing in public opinion turning on ICE is that people are seeing these videos and they're understanding, oh my God, I don't want this for my communities. This isn't right. This isn't something that I want happening in my communities. And it's because of those organizations that are on the ground like Status Quo. And we're going to be playing a clip from them.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, it is very important to support those people like Will Kelly, who you interviewed yesterday, who got arrested out in front of the Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis.
Pitch black. The video went up like 10:30. I interviewed him like 10 o'clock. The other thing that I wanted to say was, the reason that folks out there are not seeing these clips, the brutality of ICE, the kidnapping of ICE, the murder of ICE, is because the mainstream media only shares just a scant a number of clips that are happening. It's because of independent media. It's because of people who are on the ground right now. Independent content creators, small content creators, short form content creators, not just YouTubers. That's why the message is getting out. And that's why it's incumbent upon you to share that content with your neighbors, with your friends, on your Facebook pages, on your social media accounts. So someone who might not maybe see it will see it. Someone who subsists on a steady diet of CNN, they'll be able to see it too. And it is helping because it's changing. It's turning public opinion against the Nazi fucks.
Absolutely. So let's read this email quickly from longtime supporter, longtime listener, Henry. Hey, Brittany P. and Jesse D. I wanted to say thank you for the reporting in Minneapolis. I appreciate your work on the ground as I love that city and the people and community they built. I visited there once, and if I remain in the States when I retire, I plan on being there. Hopefully the Nazis don't start targeting naturalized citizens, otherwise I'm fucked too. Dark times. I'm standing up and fighting these fash here in Texas. Secondly, I am now 45 with a history of colon cancer and polyps in my immediate family. Went and got my colonoscopy and they found 2 precancerous polyps and they were fully removed. Next check in 5 years. Thanks for sharing your journey and destigmatizing caring for one's own health. I have convinced my mom and brother to do the same. Love and solidarity, Henry.
Man, I love Henry. I hope you're taking care of yourself, brother. It sounds like you are. That's fantastic. Anytime we're able to talk about taking care of one's health, like I don't want to be one of those people that, I didn't give a shit about cancer before I got it. Because certainly everybody cares about cancer. Everybody cares about taking care of oneself. But, because our society is so weird about butt stuff or whatever, like, the prep, you have diarrhea. It's so, whatever. Take care of yourself. And to convince your family members to do the same is a noble, very powerful thing. So thank you.
On the Solidarity with Minnesota note, we are going to be linking to standwithminnesota.com, which details numerous mutual aid funds, numerous nonprofits that are helping people on the ground throughout Minnesota, not just in Minneapolis, because the entire state is under siege right now by the federal government. And if you've been looking at these videos and you've been thinking, I can't get to Minnesota, I don't live in Minnesota, but I want to support. I can't be out in the streets protesting, but I want to support. This is a key way to do that. So we're going to link to that in the description below. You'll find it right at the top of the links that we are linking to because it's really important to support people on the ground and remain in solidarity with them.
And another thing, if we miss something, there's a resource we're not including, we want it. So email it to us. Call us with that resource. We want to know what they are so we can have it. This can be a repository on every show note to get out there for people to have access to whatever the resources are, mutual aid, everything, just supporting the efforts on the ground.
Now, you may remember on the previous episode, we did spend time talking about what we saw personally in Minneapolis when we were there. Things have gotten 10,000 times worse since we left, and it only continues to get worse. And in that episode, we played a clip of a man who was just getting gas and was harassed by ICE. They were asking him where he was born. They were asking for his identity documents to prove that he was a citizen. And so there's been actually, since that episode, several videos that have come forward because people are recording, and we see that ICE is stopping people based on how they look, based on their race, making judgments, assuming that people may not be citizens and harassing them based on their appearance. Tricia McLaughlin, the, what is her title? She's the assistant.
Chief spokesghoul at the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay, that's official.
Yeah, I think that's official. She's a spokesperson for DHS.
Yeah, she was recently on with Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown on CNN. And they specifically challenged her on this issue. They said, listen, we've seen these videos. The public has seen these videos of apparently the Department of Homeland Security is going after people based on their race. And even when played video evidence of this, Tricia says it's not happening, but then also goes to say that she doesn't know the context of the videos, but maybe these people that were stopped and harassed assaulted ICE officers before the clip started?
Told reporters yesterday that ICE may ask people to, quote, validate their identity when asked about Americans carrying proof of citizenship. Can you clarify what exactly that means? Do American citizens, as of now, need to carry their passports or other immigration documents to show that they're citizens?
I am so glad you asked this question because I think that there's a lot of confusion there about this. We have incredibly targeted immigration enforcement operations. So what's happening there is reasonable suspicion. If somebody is in the vicinity of this operation, of this target, then they could be asked for their identification. We've been vindicated by the Supreme Court, September of 2025. You all saw a case out of Los Angeles where they said we can use a reasonable suspicion. I think I've seen a lot on this network and other places where they're talking about this is racially based. Absolutely not. Racial animus is no place in DHS and is, of course, not used. We're using what is protected under the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Absolutely.
I want to play this video of a recent incident in Minnesota that has received attention.
Do you have an ID on you, ma'am?
I don't need ID to walk around in my city. This is my city.
Okay, do you have some ID then, please?
I don't need ID.
If not, we're going to put you in the vehicle and we're going to ID you. Please.
I am U.S. citizen. I don't need to carry around an ID in my home.
Well,
this is my home.
Where were you born?
This is my home.
Where were you born?
Minneapolis is my home.
So that video was filmed by a woman who, as you heard, said she is a U.S. citizen. Why exactly was she stopped? Was there reasonable suspicion, which is a legal bar, as you noted, that a crime was committed in that situation? And why was he asking her, where are you born? Like, what was he basing that on?
Sure. So either this is, and I haven't seen this video before, so there could be two circumstances here. Either this is a targeted operation and she's around the vicinity of it, around the target. There's reasonable suspicion because there might be a descriptor, or she could be 5'6" and they're looking for somebody who's 5'6". That could be part of it. They're looking for somebody. That could be part of it. The other piece of it is it could be, I don't know if she was obstructing law enforcement, if she was assaulting law enforcement prior to this, but they either had those Title VIII authorities under the U.S. Code 1357 or they had that reasonable suspicion.
What I absolutely love about this is we see the results. We see the fruits of people who assault law enforcement. They end up on their fucking faces or dead. The fact that they're peacefully sitting there harassing her, well, where were you born? Where were you born? That's not how assault would be met with questions. She's a terrible liar, and who believes this? This strains credulity. It strains any reasonable person's interpretation of what is taking place on the ground. They're literally walking up to dudes who are getting gas in their cars, not acting suspiciously, not monitoring ICE, not protesting, getting gas ostensibly so they can go to work, and being asked, where were you born? First question out of their mouth. This is Nazi Germany shit that we are living through right now. We live in a demanding papers society, and even Kristi Noem this last week said, yes, you can expect, like they just said in that CNN clip, United States citizens can expect to be stopped and required to present their papers, having done nothing wrong. Apparently, the presumption of innocence no longer is a right protected by the Constitution. We now live in a world where the government doesn't have the burden of proof to harass, to prosecute, to arrest, to detain, to question, to imprison, to murder. It's a different kind of society than it was 1 year ago.
Well, and they love to use this word obstruction of justice, getting in the way.
Impeding is also the other one.
Impeding, right. They say this about pretty much any activity. You could be standing on the sidewalk while something is happening in the middle of the street and you have your phone out and you're recording, and all of a sudden an ICE agent is getting in your face telling you that you are impeding their operations. You're not impeding. You're standing there and you're documenting. And the reason that they don't like that you're documenting is because all these videos are getting put online and public sentiment is turning against them.
Yeah.
And more people are getting out into the streets and making their job incredibly difficult. You know, progressive activist Will Stansel is in Minnesota.
He's local.
And he's been posting his videos of participating in things like Ice Watch. And Ice Watch is like a very specific methodical activity where, you know, you might see protesters like the aforementioned DeWoke farmer, who is beautiful and fantastic and loves to call out fascist fucks. But Ice Watch does something different, right? They are not getting loud. They are not getting boisterous. They are following and they are documenting. And in that role, they are still being met with aggression and hostility. So we keep hearing this from people where they're like, I don't think protesters should be using aggressive language. Someone could get hurt. Listen, Renee Nicole Good smiled at Jonathan Ross and said, I'm not mad at you. And then he shot her in the face. Behaving, watching your language, these are things that do not and will not protect you. Fascism is going to fascism. And if you have something to say about methods of protesting,
you're on the wrong team.
You are on the wrong team.
Yeah.
You need to focus on the fascism. Focus on that.
Also, isn't Ice Watch, the way I understand it, it's like an evidence-based practice based on research that if you document violence and things taking place, it decreases or diminishes the occurrence of those instances of violence. I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, there was a really beautiful thread that was posted on Blue Sky, which I'm trying to find, from Nicole Badera, who says she's a sociologist.
You found that quick.
Studying how our social structures make sexual violence more likely to occur. And in this thread, Nicole writes this: among perpetrators of violence, there is a very small share who are independently motivated to violence, but the vast majority of perpetrators commit violence to seek approval and status from others. This is particularly true among men who use violence to affirm their masculinity. The goal of Ice Watch is to surround that second type of perpetrator with people who disapprove of their actions. It will make them less likely to be violent, and we've seen that in some cases. That includes rethinking their original plan to tear a family apart, too. The success of Ice Watch interfering with ICE's mission is almost certainly why DHS keeps sending more agents to Minneapolis. They used to execute their raids with just a few agents. Now they need 6 to 12 to even begin to disrupt the social pressure to be non-violent.
Fantastic.
So that is beneficial, and there's many different ways that people are getting involved and intervening, and I like to see it all, right? This Ice Watch process is based on de-escalation, and it's obviously working because I've seen Will Stansel post, and he said he didn't want to get out in front of anything, but that he feels that he has seen kind of a decrease in some of the terror that has been happening over the course of the past few days. I saw that yesterday, or the other day from him, that from his anecdotal position, what he's witnessed, it seems like there's been a little bit of a downtick. Yeah, now, unfortunately, ICE has continued to lash out and abuse people, including people that are not at all involved in the protests, that are trying to escape, including with their 6 children, in a van where ICE agents threw some sort of chemical weapon into the van as these 2 parents were trying to get their kids out of a protest.
Yeah, by the way, that's the point that needs to be drilled down on here, because the right wing and the Department of Homeland Security, the Nazis over there, these fucking liars and propagandists, they're saying that they were participating in a protest, and yeah, your kids got injured, but why'd you bring them to a protest? They weren't involved in the protest. They were coming from a sporting event from one of their children. It's just a family traveling together, and happened through one of the urban assault missions of ICE, and they ended up with a 6-month-old baby in the hospital.
Right.
We also talked to an individual who was not involved with the protest, and he was just trying to get his kids out of the neighborhood. He had 6 kids loaded into his car, including a 6-month-old, when law enforcement threw a flashbang at his car, and now he has told us all 6 of his kids were transported to the hospital. We saw EMS come in. We expect that they are going to be okay, but obviously that father tonight is very worried about his kids. When he says he wanted nothing to do with this protest, he was just trying to get out of here when he got caught up in all of this. So it's a good reminder that this is a neighborhood. People live here, and right now there's a little bit of chaos.
I am begging the media to stop calling these masked, anonymous, secret police Proud Boy force, this urban assault fucking squad of Donald Trump, stop calling them law enforcement. They are not enforcing the laws. They are assassinating, harassing, brutalizing American citizens and community members alike. Stop calling them law enforcement.
Well, in this couple, Sean Jackson and Destiny, they were driving home from their son's basketball game, and then they found themselves in a clash between the protesters and the ICE agents who are out here just wreaking havoc on communities. And so they saw stuff going down. They decided they wanted to escape what they saw happening, and so they were trying to get out of it. And this is reporting from the New York Times. Quote, the couple said they were able to get their children ages 6 months through 11 years out of the car only after Mr. Jackson kicked open a door. Ms. Jackson, blinded and unable to breathe, circled the vehicle, pulling out as many of her children as she could, she said. Bystanders arrived to usher the family into a nearby house, she said, while others set about removing the 6-month-old, who was briefly trapped in his car seat. Quote, my baby was completely unconscious, not breathing, Ms. Jackson said. She recounted talking to emergency services over the phone, receiving instructions on how to perform CPR on her child, while bystanders doused her other children with milk to neutralize the tear gas. Now, what is remarkable about this scene is how you hear nothing about the ICE agents who just gassed a 6-month-old, rushing to the aid of that 6-month-old who is now unable to breathe because of the chemical weapons that they just threw at a baby. And they're nowhere to be found. The people that are intervening to help in this situation, neighbors, community members, protesters, the people who are already on the streets trying to protect their community. The ICE agents who did all this, nowhere to be found. They inflict the terror and then they move along.
So stop calling them fucking law enforcement.
Right. And
they're a masked goon squad.
Even in this article, it says Immigrations and Customs Enforcement did not respond to a request for comment. They do this, and then there's no accountability. There's not even a response. They sent 6 kids to the hospital, and there's no response. And this family, by the way, is a black family. And that is relevant because these people are going after everybody now, certainly, right?
Yeah.
It's not as though white people are safe, but we know that if you are willing and excited about targeting non-white people and terrorizing them, that they're going to put you out in the streets to do it.
Yeah, this is an all-out assault on black and brown people in America and white people who they would consider collaborators with the colored folks. I mean, this is just a replay of the previous century, and I'm not even just talking about Nazi Germany. In the South, if you were marching for civil rights, you were also a target of the KKK and white supremacist fucking goon squads.
It's why we're starting to see so many conservatives talk about white women,
Right.
knowing their role, essentially. Will Cain on Fox News, you did a video about that this week. I think also Greg Gutfeld on The Five was talking about this as well, admonishing white women for...
It's always these weak-kneed little fucking pussies, too. They're not... For all this talk that has culminated over the course of so many years about traditional masculinity, the spokespeople for traditional masculinity are just thin, weak, ankled, just... smooth-skinned millionaires, elites, never done a hard day's work in their life, never joined the military, were not ever in combat, have not done anything traditionally masculine. It's all a talking point. Fucking cowards.
Also, it's kind of funny to me because I grew up with a very different perception of all of this. You know, my mom was like 6 feet tall, 225 pounds in her prime, and was fist fighting Nazis in the front yard. So like, it's kind of a little strange to me to hear these men talking about certain prescriptions for the way that women need to behave, because it's a little foreign to me. I get that's how they, do it in their life. But what is beautiful about Minneapolis is the ways in which that the community is rallying. I mean, there are organizations that are rallying to deliver groceries to their neighbors who cannot leave their homes, because if they do leave their homes, they're going to be hunted by these people. There are all kinds of organizations that are mobilizing to support protesters in the street. And then, of course, there are people protesting. There are people in the streets. And it is getting cold in Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be very cold this week. Like, so cold that the ICE agents are not prepared. I've heard locals say, We're used to it.
Wait.
You're not.
Wait, bitch. Just wait.
And we're going to play a few interviews here.
They're already... Just let me sidetrack for a second. Have you seen the clip of the guy who's trying to grab someone and he's on like a berm of a yard?
Yes.
And he's like slipping and yoink,
Yeah.
yoink, yoink, doink, doink, doink. It's like a fucking cartoon.
Yeah.
And even protesters, it seems like they're, I'm tripping too. And then they fall on the guy.
Yeah.
They're not prepared.
It is... It's
too many fucking Florida Proud Boys up in Minneapolis right now who don't have the mettle to deal with the acclimate weather.
It's beautiful to see, but we're going to play a few interviews with some of these protesters because I think it's motivating and it's inspiring. A lot of people, I think, sometimes we're seeing like this doomerism online where people are like saying nothing matters, nothing.
I'm hitting the table here, which is I think. Listen, it's easy to fall into that. But we need to all be aware that we need to boost one another. And this isn't an impossible situation, but we need to curb our own doomerism.
Yeah, and hopefully seeing some of these clips will help you feel inspired if you're in that place. This is one protester who said it doesn't matter what ICE does. They're not leaving until ICE is gone.
Have the sway here. Clearly, if they're throwing weapons at us, they're afraid. They don't want us here because we know we have power against them. Personally, I could be hit by flashbangs again, and I'm not going anywhere. I am going to be out here for the coming weeks until ICE is off of our streets and stops terrorizing our neighbors and killing our neighbors.
Let me tell you, having talked to Will Kelly, DeWolk Farmer, last night during the interview, while we were waiting for his footage to upload on my end on the program that I use to do remote interviews, he's of the same ilk.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about, I'm sticking around. This is where the action is. This is where I am needed as an activist, as a protester, as an American who loves his fellow Americans and doesn't demonize those because they have a different level of melanin. Their skin tone is not what is approved by the administration. And he's echoing that exact sentiment that you just heard from her. They're going to be here as long as ICE is.
Right. Yeah, it's remarkable to see, especially as the protesters are being brutalized for doing nothing. They're shooting pepper balls, they're pepper spraying them.
ICE is shooting pepper balls.
Yeah, they're spraying protesters directly in the face, almost touching them. I mean, some of these clips, you'll see the can is right in their face.
Oh, yeah.
The aforementioned Status Coup, we talked about their channel. I'm not sure if they have a YouTube.
They do have a YouTube channel.
Okay, we'll link to that for sure.
I just subscribed last night.
They have been on the ground interviewing people, and I think in this clip they are out in front of the Whipple Federal Building where a lot of these protests are taking place because it's where ICE agents are coming in and out all day. It's where Greg Bavino likes to make an appearance to have all of the ICE agents that like surround him as his personal protection just rush into the crowd of protesters and decide to randomly start abusing them because they don't like them at that moment, I guess.
Say what you will about Greg Bavino. I do love that guy's cookies. I love the ones that have like the little chocolate layer on them. What are those called?
The ones that have his likeness.
The Keebler.
The Elves.
The Keebler.
Yeah.
I think they're delicious.
Yeah, the fudge ones.
Yeah, I don't know the name of them.
Fudge something, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is...
Fudgems? Fudgekins? Is it some
I mean,
kind
if
of
that's
thing?
not what they're called, they need to hire you. Am I right? So... Status Coup interviewed this older lady. I don't know how old she might be, but she's older. And when they walk up to her, she has a blue handkerchief and she's wiping her eyes because you can tell that she just got some sort of chemical weapon used on her. And they walk up to her to start asking her if she's okay and also if they can just, ask her what's been going on.
Shut up!
Are you okay, ma'am?
Yeah, I am.
Do you mind if we talk to you for a second, if you're okay?
Well, this is ridiculous. It's a waste of money, a waste of time. All these men out here for what? They're just doing it for money? This is terrible. This is unbelievable. This is the USA. It's not frickin' third world country.
Are you here from Minneapolis or Minnesota area?
Yes, I'm Minnesota born, raised.
I can hear it now.
You betcha.
I love that accent. It's usually a nice person. So
enunciate our words. That's what we do. Yeah. No, this is too bad. This is not Minnesota.
Is this your first time getting gassed?
In many, many years.
What was the last time you?
Oh, down in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. They were clearing it out. It was time curfew.
What? So what brought you? What inspired you to come out here?
Well, I just couldn't sit home. I've been in marches and stuff, and I had to do something. It's so, what can you do other than wait till we vote again? But this is just crazy. I don't believe it. They have all these men for what? A few people that are against people doing wrong things. That's all. No, this is too bad. This is shameful. And a lot of them are young kids that don't even know the difference. They're going to regret it someday. That's all I know.
Yes.
Do you have hope that they're going to regret it?
Oh, I know they'll regret it. If they have any empathy for anybody, because what's going on is ridiculous.
Out of the road, or you will be arrested.
Oh, shut up! I'd like to meet him in person, giving orders. I mean, they act like they're so powerful. And, oh yeah, jeez.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks.
Oh, what a beautiful human being.
Let me tell you, we encountered that person, not her specifically, but that is a person who exists every other block in Minneapolis. They are resolute, they are strong, they are together, it is a beautiful populace, unlike many municipalities across the country. It's unique. Minnesota is absolutely unique. They're not fucking around. They're not going to just lay down and like, oh, do your job, ICE. Kidnap the members of our community. They're not here for that.
Yeah, and this next story is another great example at a business called Rectangle Pizza.
Oh, yes.
And on the previous episode, you heard us talk about how when we were in Minneapolis, we would try to go into restaurants and the doors would be locked. And you would kind of be, looking at each other like wondering, oh, is it closed? It said it was open. I'm confused. And then you would see someone come over to the door, look around, and then open and let you in. And it was only after they confirmed that ICE wasn't in sight.
You're not ICE, that
Right.
You're not assisting ICE. Also, and I'll throw a picture of this up. I took a picture of ICE not welcome, some sign in a little restaurant we went to.
Yeah.
And also awesome. And those signs are all over the place.
Everywhere.
This pizza place has one too that's even more aggressive than the one that I'm going to put on screen for those of you who are on audio. Go over and watch this video on YouTube.
Yeah. So this is a remarkable clip, a remarkable story, because Rectangle Pizza had been involved in community mutual aid efforts. They were organizing meals and they were doing like a clothing drop off with the business next door to them. And they were engaged in community efforts to help in the face of this federal takeover of their city. And ICE decided to show up to their business one day. And instead of that going their way, owners of the business, as well as customers of the business and people that were on the street, banded together and literally chased off the ICE agents who were attempting to go into this business.
New video shows federal agents arriving at a popular Minneapolis restaurant, but employees in the community stood in their way. Now neighbors say they will continue to step up with those kinds of actions. Jason Rantala has the story.
We defended this community.
Surveillance video shows several men exit an SUV outside Rectangle Pizza in South Minneapolis.
And they stormed up on our door to try to get in.
But Rectangle Pizza co-owner Brianna Evans says employees and community members chased off those ICE agents after they tried to enter her restaurant Monday afternoon. Video appears to show those agents leaving, but not before deploying chemical agents, which were kicked right back.
We probably put a target on ourselves with that by helping people, which is sickening.
The visit comes after a Rectangle Pizza fundraising campaign for nonprofits.
You guys have donated over $83,000.
In addition to donating pizzas for each customer purchase for people impacted by the increased ICE presence. Just down the street, community members like Sid King,
if ICE is going to stay here, then I'm going to stay here.
Stand guard outside Spit & Kitten on the lookout for ICE.
We're sticking together as a community.
Inside that shop, an outpouring of support for immigrant neighbors.
We have people calling us from all over the world trying to help.
Donations pouring in. food and household goods for people trapped in their homes.
At one point, the store was just full, as are all the neighboring businesses.
So many donations that neighboring business, Twin Cities Leather, located inside the Umbra Arts building,
and I literally just took a broom and pushed everything to the back wall.
Made extra space.
48 hours ago, this room was filled taller than me with donations from the community.
Community members sending a strong message.
Minneapolis strong. Community first. They don't belong here. They're not this community. They're not what we believe in. We support and love each other, and you can see from that video exactly what happens when they try to with us.
In Minneapolis, Jason Rantala, WCCO News.
A Rectangle has now reduced its hours to have more staff present for each shift.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I would say this, if you're in Minneapolis, support this business, support these businesses that were just mentioned. These are people who are putting their livelihood, their very lives on the line. If you saw the clip of them having a gas canister tossed at them and they kick it back under the car of these feckless masked cunts, it makes me emotional. It is amazing to see people, and you heard it again. We're not leaving. We're going to be here as long as these motherfuckers are here. So great.
And that's why I think it's important to watch these stories, listen to these stories, and share these stories, because and it could just be bots, and I don't want to let my mind get clouded by the comments from bots, but people will come into the comments when you're talking about calling your representatives or doing this, and they're like, nothing matters. Why would we do anything? And it's not helpful, and it's also not true, and it's not useful to be, and I get getting down and feeling hopeless. I totally understand that. But these people are under assault, and they're putting their bodies on the line, and they're having their faces smashed into the concrete. They're having their neighbors disappeared. I've seen posts about gas pumps being left with the gas pump in the car because they took someone who was getting gas, and there's an abandoned car and an abandoned gas pump left in a car. There's serious shit happening, and these people are out here saying, no, we're going to be out here in the freezing cold. We're going to be out here until these people are gone, and we're going to literally kick tear gas cans back out under ICE agents' car. I mean, this kind of community resistance is so powerful, and we need to support it. And if you're someone who's in the comments poo-pooing methods of protests or whatever it is, or saying that nothing matters, it's not helpful. Maybe move out of the way and let people who are doing the things that matter and are going to make a difference, let them do their work.
Don't discourage people who will be out there, because resistance, obviously, it is fucking self-evident it does matter, because if they hadn't resisted, ICE would have gotten their way in the moment that you just watched. Instead, they ran with their tails behind their under their fucking legs and ran away. Because of resistance. It does matter. Protest does matter. Activism does matter. Organizing does matter. Pushing back against fucking Nazis in America does matter. You can lay down and be a Nazi collaborator if you want to. I, for one, will not do that.
And it isn't just Minnesota. There were national protests, ICE out for good. We saw these all over the country, and there have been ongoing resistance efforts to ICE, because ICE is not just in Minnesota. ICE is carrying out operations and terrorizing communities across the country, including...
And that's also being met with violence, by the way.
Right, yeah. Including in Los Angeles, including in Orange County, specifically in Santa Ana, where there was a recent protest, and these... agents, I think it was a federal agent, that's right, it was a federal agent, grabbed this 21-year-old protester and shot him in the eye. And
point blank.
He will be blind for the rest of his life. He doesn't even see light in that eye. There's nothing that he will see in that eye for the rest of his life. And Caden Rumler, a very brave protester, 21 years old, came forward and shared a bit about what happened that day.
Were you given medical attention quickly? What happened after you were dragged into the building?
Once I was dragged into the building, he had me down on the floor, and I remember seeing this pile of blood. It was really dark, coagulated blood. It was a pile bigger than my face, and he pushed my head into it like this, and he just held me there. And then with his free hand, he was on top of me, and he was putting my hands behind my back really aggressively and handcuffing me. And I was pleading with him. I was like, call an ambulance. Please call an ambulance. There's so much blood. Please call an ambulance. I'm going to bleed out. Please call an ambulance. He didn't say a word. He was completely silent.
Did he ever mock you? Saying, you're going to be blind in that eye?
Well, that was, when that happened, it was so people, I couldn't see at this point, so I don't know who it was, but when they took me outside to go to the ambulance, which wasn't there yet, I was standing out in the cold, leaning against a rail, and they wouldn't let me sit because they were like, you won't be able to get up, so they made me stand, and I had no shoes on, and I was cold and shivering, and two people were talking. I couldn't see them. I couldn't see anything, and they kind of like said they were like chuckling and saying how I won't ever get to see out of my left eye again, just chuckling about it. And I remember saying, shame on you guys for laughing at the fact that I'll never see again. Shame on you. And after that, they kind of shut up and went silent.
How long did you wait before the ambulance came? Do you know?
I was really out of it. I was just trying to focus on staying conscious. So I'm not entirely sure, but it was at least 30 minutes.
Well, can you tell us about your injuries now and the prognosis? Will you be blind in that eye for life?
From what I've heard the doctors say and everyone else, yes, I will be blind for life. They said my globe was ruptured. I had my lower lid was cut up, and they had to take skin from my temple to fix it. There's a lot to it. I don't remember all the things that they said. I have fractures in my skull that they can't fix, and I can't sneeze or cough because it's dangerous too. I remember also when I shot, there was pepper in it, and I had pepper down my throat. It made it hard to breathe for a long time. They pulled a piece of plastic the size of a nickel out of my eye. They said I had shards of metal, glass, and plastic all throughout my eye and behind my eye and in my skull. And they also said that I had a piece of shrapnel metal about a few millimeters away from my carotid artery. And they said it was a miracle I survived, because if it got any closer, if it hit that, I would have died that night.
There's a few themes that I hope that you're picking up with these clips of protesters talking. And the first one that I want to call your attention to is the fact that this, in the face of this brutality and abuse and the assault on these people who are peacefully protesting, or sometimes in the case of the 6 kids that got gassed, not at all involved in a protest and simply bystanders trying to get out of a protest.
Existing while black.
Right. These people that are being assaulted are given no medical attention after they are met with force. And imagine that. Caden is sitting there, blood gushing from the eye socket. Also, when they dragged Caden across the courtyard, he was holding his neck, trying to pull the shirt away from his neck, saying that he couldn't breathe, and they just kept dragging him. They didn't care. This brutality is unbelievable, and they don't even render aid. They don't attempt to give medical assistance. That's been a theme that I hope you're picking up on. They do this, and then they don't provide any help.
And it's not a municipality-specific thing. I talked to Will Kelly last night after he was released from jail, after he was cited for impeding traffic.
Right.
Federal agents are now traffic cops in Minneapolis, I guess. They can just enforce whatever laws. He told me that in the holding cell in the area, he was stuffed in with several other individuals who were bleeding. He said he thought one had a broken nose. They were not receiving medical attention, and they had all been gassed. They had all been pepper sprayed, and they were in a room with very little, if any, ventilation, and they were all continuing to choke on because the gas doesn't dissipate. When we were in Minneapolis, and we did not get it anywhere near what Caden got it, or Will and the people I'm talking about right now. What they do is they fire not one pepper ball, they fire dozens of pepper balls by dozens of agents, and it causes a massive plume of caustic irritant. It's a capsaicin-based pepper that is aerosolized, and it just goes right into your eyes and lungs. And then when we left Whipple, we thought, oh, we're fine. And it reminded me of when you were in the Marine Corps and you do go through gas chamber training, that they don't let you drive your personal vehicle because of the fact that when you get in, once you're back in the car, it all starts to release from your clothes, and then you could choke and crash your car. That's what they're doing. It's by design. This is cruelty and sadism by design by these masked Nazi fucks.
And I was very surprised because it was my first experience with pepper balls. And when we got in the car and we were leaving, I thought I was fine. And then all of a sudden, my eyes started stinging to the point where I couldn't keep them open.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even, I couldn't even attempt to keep them open. I had to keep them closed and they were just watering.
We had to roll down the windows, rolling down the street at like 20 degrees or 30 degrees or whatever it was. The Uber driver's windows were rolled all the way down so we could air it out.
Yeah, and I was sitting there so confused. Like I didn't even cough when it was administered. It choked off my scream at one point, and I had to turn around away from it and kind of get myself together.
It just impregnates in your clothes.
Yeah, and it was such a strange thing. And so imagine that, right? You have your eye shot out, and you're still also suffering from the effects of the pepper agent that they have used on you as well.
Worried that you're going to bleed out.
Yeah, it's...
And, again, maybe just this will be the theme. Stop calling them law enforcement.
I also want to say, Caden, when asked if he would do this again, says, I refuse to sit around idly and watch this happen, and in 50 years, I would absolutely regret not trying to make a change. So even though Caden will be blind in his eye for the rest of his life, he says, no, I do not regret this, because he believes, like many of these protesters that you've heard, that they are going to continue to put themselves at risk because it's worth it to them to protect their communities from this federal assault. And I find that incredibly moving, incredibly inspirational, and something that we should all be supporting.
Yeah, listen, this is a zero-sum game. This is a binary thing. One side or the other is going to come out victorious. And if Donald Trump's side, if the literal Nazi fucks win, it'll be just a different country. They're trying to create a white ethno-state right now. And if we lose, if the resistance side loses, if the good guys lose, the bad guys win, and then we are fundamentally, structurally, a different country.
Yes. So we would love to know what you think about all of this. 657-464-7609, or you can send an email to idoubt@dollemore.com. You know, something else that's happening right now is a concerning aspect of the online discourse and information machine. And this has been the case for a long time with the internet of how do people know how to find good information? How can they avoid misinformation, avoid spreading misinformation? And unfortunately, Elon Musk is really complicating that issue with his garbage Nazi child porn website that is called X. And if you're still on this website, very confusing stuff, especially to these massive news organizations like CNN, CBS, ABC. Like if you are one of these places, there's entire governments that are getting off this website in other countries, in non-broken countries.
And by the way, not only because, but certainly in addition to this, not only because Grok called itself Mecha Hitler,
right,
but also because of the child sexual abuse material,
right?
The revenge porn type stuff. I mean, it's a fucking nightmare on the Nazi website, and it's still flooded with quote unquote credible people who not only are using it on a daily basis, but are paying Elon Musk money every month to have their little blue check.
Yeah, and this is what...
I don't get it.
This is what people are doing. You can request that Grok create non-consensual sexual images where you can undress women. People undressed Renee Nicole Good.
You can undress little girls.
They have undressed Holocaust survivors and put them in swastika bikinis.
Yeah.
They are undressing children and putting bodily fluids on the children undressed. This is so abhorrent that I, again, struggle to understand why anyone is taking part in this. Now the Pentagon is partnering with XAI, the company that is, putting all of this garbage into the world. But one of the mothers of Elon Musk's children, Ashley St. Clair, who is a conservative activist, she had a child with him. Since she had a child with him, She has come out and said, I've been undressed on this website. This has been weaponized against me. I want this to stop. Since she has come forward and talked about this, Elon Musk has apparently turned off her ability to make money on the website. He's threatening to take the child away from her, alleging that she's going to transition the child.
Right. Well, she's found her empathy, but only after her tragedy. So
certainly. Yeah. And she recently gave an interview on these deepfakes, on these non-consensual sexual images that are being generated at an unbelievable pace on this garbage website.
How does it make you feel when you see your likeness being manipulated like that?
The worst for me was seeing myself undressed, bent over, and then my toddler's backpack in the background, because I had to then see that and see myself violated in that way and such horrific images, and then put that same backpack on my son the next day, because it's the one he wears every day to school.
St. Clair, an author and mother of two, has a son with Musk. She's one of many victims of non-consensual sexual deepfakes created and shared by Grok.
Did you ask Grok to take those photos down?
I did, multiple times. Grok said, I confirm that you don't consent. I will no longer produce these images. And then it continued to produce more and more images and more explicit images.
St. Clair says she filed a report directly with XAI, which operates Grok. Some of the images were then removed.
When you think about the person who is leading this tech and making it available to the public, what do you want to say to that?
Make it stop. This can be stopped with a singular message to an engineer.
Last week, Malaysia and Indonesia banned Grok, while regulators in the United Kingdom have launched an investigation. A recent study by AI Forensics, a nonprofit that investigates the algorithms of major platforms, found that more than half of the Grok images they reviewed contained individuals in minimal attire, the vast majority of them women.
What do you say to the people out there watching who say, oh, she's got a bone to pick with Elon Musk?
If they want to say my bone to pick is the chatbot undressing minors and myself and stripping me nude, yes, you're right. I have a bone to pick with that. And I don't care who's doing it. So Elon's not special about me speaking out on this.
CBS News reached out to Musk and has not received a response yet.
Well, I'll tell you what his response has been, and it has been to say that he's not going to be held down by the woke mob, right, and he's not going to give in to woke attacks.
It's woke if you don't like CSAM. It's woke if you don't like revenge porn. It's woke if you don't want to use Mecha Hitler, a Nazi apologist AI system that denies the Holocaust. Yeah, it's woke if you don't like that.
I also saw...
Fucking Nazi. Tell me again how it wasn't a Nazi salute, everybody. Piers Morgan, when I was on the show. Oh, come on, that's ridiculous. That wasn't a Nazi
We
salute.
don't know what's in his heart.
Fucking, yeah, we do.
He's now explicitly posting about how white men are at risk of extinction, and everyone's like, oh, we don't know what's in his heart still. We need to give him some time.
Straight up Nazi shit.
So hopefully people will...
Oh, I thought you were going to say hopefully he ODs on ketamine soon.
People...
That was in my head, not yours.
People will hopefully find their empathy before their tragedy.
And I don't just mean OD and like recover. I mean OD and die.
The views and opinions of Jesse Dollemore are solely those of Jesse Dollemore and do not reflect the views and opinions of Brittany Page, who is a far superior person and much more measured and reasonable in her views and analysis.
Just in case, we have the disclaimer, we might as well use it.
Yes. So hopefully people will leave that website and stop helping to elevate him. Although, our government is, and this is what happens when you're a billionaire, is you get to buy protection from the government, because this has been going on since at least mid-December, when it started really ramping up, and it's only gotten worse. And there's been no pressure from our government. You heard about all those other countries. You heard about all those other foreign governments that have taken action to investigate, that have directed their leaders to get off the website, stop using the website. That's not happening here. Instead, they're partnering with XAI at the Pentagon. And this
partnering to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right, because they want to use Grok. Yeah. They want the chatbot that's creating the child porn to now work with the Pentagon.
So Mecha Hitler is now being paid as an employee of the Department of War with Pete Hegseth.
Yes, and I think it's important to talk about this story because with everything happening, a lot of things get kind of lost in the chaos of the news cycle. But Republican Michigan Rep Lisa McClain, her husband recently purchased $100,000 to $250,000 in private stock in XAI just before this deal with the Pentagon was announced. And
what a lucrative coincidence, Brittany Page.
I know, it's so interesting. Just right before it happened, and
the luckiest stock trade in the history of stock trade.
Because of the timing and everything, there's some questions about whether there was any insider knowledge about this.
Are those questions coming from the woke mob?
Oh, well, I think this is News Nation that asked her.
Oh, so not the woke mob.
You're gonna absolutely love how satisfied they are with her denials and how quick they are
is
to
it
just
Leland fucking Vittert or whatever that guy's name is. That
I don't know.
Dickwad.
I don't know which one it is, but they ask her the question almost to be like a check. We did it. We asked her. Okay, we did something useful. We asked her about it.
Your husband bought stock in Elon Musk's AI company, which is not publicly traded, XAI, in the private market just days before a report had surfaced that the Pentagon was expanding XAI's role in military systems. On our tablet, you guys can flash this up, the periodic transaction report from the Congresswoman. My question for you is, can you assure us, we've covered this issue of, conflicts of interest and what have you. Can you assure us this purchase was not based on any kind of inside information?
Yeah. 100%, because if it was, we wouldn't have bought 100,000 shares. We would have bought a heck of a lot more. But I also want to stop you because we don't even have your facts straight on that. It wasn't a publicly traded stock. It was, I think, about 470 million, of which it was a private offering.
Right, which is that's what I was saying. It's not a publicly traded company, so it was in the private market.
My gosh.
Right. But that leads you. It's the same question would apply whether it's publicly traded or whether it's traded in these private markets about conflicts, potential conflicts of interest. So that's why I'm asking if you could assure us that he didn't know anything about that Pentagon report.
And quite frankly, I think that's a very fair question to ask, especially with all of the insider trading that happens up here. But we got to have our facts straight. I wish, one, we don't have any, the Pentagon doesn't release that information, but I can 100% assure you that we didn't have the insider information.
Didn't have the information beforehand, right? Because I know there was some other scrutiny of your husband's investments in the past, but you're saying no inside information. You can say it.
I mean, that's what we do for a living.
Understand. Thank you, Congresswoman, for answering all the questions.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Congresswoman Lisa McClain.
Have a good day.
You too.
Fucking fantastic journalism. Can you assure us that there was no funny business? Lisa McClain says, yep, I can assure you. All right, our work is done here. Fucking News Nation, man. I mean,
Jesse Weber.
Who?
Jesse Weber.
I don't know who that dipshit is.
Okay.
He is certainly he's a stupid fuck, though. It is in between, News Nation's in between a Fox News and a Newsmax. Like it's like Temu Fox News.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chris Cuomo.
I love how
Leland Vittert and this dipshit Jesse Weber.
I love how close he was.
Jesse, right?
Jesse Weber, yeah. I love how close he was to something useful, though, on the end there. He's like, well, because your husband has been questioned before about some of his trading, and so this has been a problem before, but you're saying this time it's not a problem?
I love all the awkward shifting and weird awkward laughter. And then she says, well, the Pentagon doesn't even release that information publicly. Yeah, that's what we're saying, dumbass. You got the information inappropriately and you used it. You trafficked on that information. Listen, this is why the midterms are so important. We need a majority of Democrats in the House. Hopefully we can get rid of our absolutely feckless minority leader before he becomes the majority leader or the Speaker of the House in Hakeem Jeffries. And we'll actually get some teeth and some muscle behind an ethics investigation to shut these people the fuck down, to find them, to censure them, to get rid of them from the House of Representatives.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, We'd love to know what you think about this. Listen, in the face of all that's going on with the masked Nazi force in the United States, still there are stories that we need to cover, and this is one of them, and they need to be amplified as well. We'd love to hear what you think. 657-464-7609. And of course, as always, you can email us the old-fashioned way. I doubt it at dollemore.com.
All right. We are preparing to wrap the show, and we thought it would be nice to have just a brief moment of levity given all of the serious things happening. So we're gonna try to have a little bit of a nice time at the end here.
It's the asshole of today.
It's kind of a misnomer. It's not really the asshole of today, Brittany Page. It is the assholes of today. You're getting a bonus asshole of today.
Interesting.
We're talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We're talking about Doug Burgum. We're talking about the Cyclops, Riley Gaines. I say that because I don't know what kind of depth perception she has, because her eyes are real close together.
So our first clip is RFK, and he went on Katie Miller's podcast. If you don't know who Katie Miller is, Katie Miller is Stephen Miller's wife, and she has a podcast where she brings on all of these ghouls to try to humanize them and ask them questions like, what do you like more, steak or lobster? You know, that's like the hard-hitting stuff that she wants to know from these people that are committing war crimes every day.
Do you like skin on your mashed potatoes, or do you like the skin removed before they're mashed?
Anything about the war crimes, Katie, anytime, all right? That's what we'll look forward to hearing about. So this is RFK, and he had an interesting anecdote about apparently Dr. Oz reviewing Donald Trump's medical records and something that struck him about that.
He's incredible health. Dr. Oz looked at his medical records and said he's got the highest testosterone level that he's ever seen for an individual over 70 years old. I know the president will be happy that I repeat that.
Why don't you just say what you really want to say? You know, you're sitting there like, Dr. Oz looked in his medical file and he had the biggest dick anyone's ever seen. His dick puts all the other dicks to shame. Like, just say what you're going to say. Just say what you want to say.
Donald Trump's sperm count is the highest of any fucking human being that's ever lived. And also, it tastes like fucking an Orange Julius.
Yeah.
When I'm felching Donald Trump. It's so good. You can't believe, Katie, have you ever tasted the jizz of Donald Trump from his giant, massive proportions of a hog? It's the greatest thing you've ever had.
Oh my God.
That's my RFK, everybody.
And was he here? Especially the felching reference. If you weren't following the Olivia Newsy, RFK, Ryan Lizza situation, then
explain it real quick.
Well, Olivia Newsy, a reporter, had apparently an affair with RFK. She wrote a book about it in her new book that she released that failed spectacularly, American Canto. And she was exchanging like love poems and love letters with RFK during this affair. And her former partner, Ryan Lizza, detailed a lot of this in his Substack, Telos News.
I don't know.
And in it, one of the references was about like felching. And I'm not going to detail.
Google it.
I'm not going to detail what that is.
Or
but
don't.
Just open an incognito window and proceed to search for that and make sure you're not at work.
We won't get into all of it. But yeah, it was maybe just go read Ryan Liz's.
But it's just constant with these men who are surrounding and uplifting Donald Trump that are like obsessed with talking about how strong he is, how fit he is, how he's so remarkable for his age. And all it is because they know it's the easiest way to get approval from Donald Trump and ensure that you remain on the right side and you're not a victim of his ire or whatever.
Listen, Donald Trump can't stay awake for 15 seconds mid-morning. We're not talking about 9 o'clock at night. Like, I would be a little understanding if it was like, well, it's 11:30 in the evening. Of course, the guy's going to be a little sleepy. I get tired at night. We're talking about 11:30 in the morning. He's like, while people are there's 50 people in the Oval Office talking to him, and he can't keep his fucking eyes open.
Also,
he's not virile.
Cut the cut the delusion. He's going to be 80 years old this
Right.
year. There is a natural decline in human performance, especially when you haven't ever participated in athletic activity in your life. And in fact, you believe participating in athletic activity takes away from your energy reserves.
Yeah, Donald Trump literally believes that the human body is like a battery, and the more this is not a joke. This is look this up. This is what he believes, and that if the more you exercise, the more quickly you deplete that battery.
Yeah, so you have to just keep your battery fresh with Big Macs.
You know how RFK keeps his battery flat? I almost did it.
Yeah.
He keeps his battery charged with Felch.
Okay, so
it's so good.
Riley Gaines also wanted to get in on this action and decided to talk about
Riley Gaines is the non-first place swimmer.
5th place.
She's the 5th place swimmer who always says she got robbed by trans athletes, even though there's like 10 or fewer trans athletes out of the tens of thousands in the NCAA.
Well, that's not going to get in the way of the grift, all right? Someone's got money to make, okay? So Riley Gaines is like sometimes on Fox News as one of these commentators and talking heads now. And I think on this one, she's on the set of Outnumbered. And she starts talking about and comparing Donald Trump's physical fitness to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
I saw this morning, actually, it was Dr. Oz who said that President Trump has the highest testosterone level of any man over 70 that he's ever seen. So you compare...
He knows that?
He actually went on to say, President Trump's going to be really thrilled that I said that. But you compare President Trump to someone, any of the Democratic male leaders, someone like Tim Walz, if you will, Mr. Jazz Hands. You ask any 20-year-old boy, especially on a college campus, who they would rather spend a day golfing with, President Trump or Tim Walz, you have to imagine that majority of them are going to say President Trump.
Talk to me about the millions.
You have to imagine, you ask any 21-year-old boy whose dick they want in their mouth, they're going to say Donald Trump, not Tim Walz, because Donald Trump is a man with great testosterone and orange Julius jizz. Too much?
You ask any 20-year-old boy.
First of all, that's a man. I was halfway through my enlistment in the Marine Corps at 20.
Is that the measuring stick now? We need to run everything by a 20-year-old. Is that what we're doing now? But again, Tim Walz runs marathons. And he's decades younger than Donald Trump. It's just absurd. These people, when the camera is off and they walk off that stage and they get into their car and they go home, I genuinely am curious. Are they proud of themselves? Do they wrestle with this at all? Like, how embarrassing it is that she said that. Is that like...
I don't think... Listen, I think Riley Gaines is stupid as fuck, but I don't think she's too stupid, so stupid that she actually believes that.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So when you're going on TV and you're just lying, and you know it's because you want the approval of the worst people on earth.
Yeah.
Does that get to you? I feel like it must in some ways. I hope so. Otherwise, you're too far gone. But, Doug Burgum is another one of these people who he was running for president, if you can believe it. When I say his name, everyone's like, who? What? But he actually ran for president. And he used to be a Trump critic. He was one of, like all these other Republicans.
And a very vocal, very articulate Trump critic, yeah.
And now he's on this train, too. What is going on?
President Trump, he's against the killing. He is the king of peace. He is the peacemaker. And whether it's stopping the killing in Iran, whether it's saving the protesters that are there on the front lines, whether it's stopping the killing of soldiers in the Iranian Russia war, or whether it's stopping the killing of Americans because of the drugs coming in our country, Venezuela, this guy is the king of peace, and he's going to keep pushing American strength to make sure that we achieve that.
All right, Secretary.
Love when the King of Peace is out here ensuring that his armed agents of the state are, smashing people's heads into the concrete for doing nothing wrong, for engaging in their First Amendment rights, for using their freedom of speech, for filming abuses and ensuring that they get out to the wider public.
I don't know. I'm kind of convinced by Doug Burgum's argument. I mean, listen, it's hard to argue that Donald Trump is not the king of peace. Brittany, are you ignoring the fact that he has a soccer peace prize? And now he has a Nobel Peace Prize.
That belongs to someone else.
It was regifted.
That's
it's a
right,
regift.
that's right. Yeah.
But it's in his possession, Brittany Page.
And
he's clearly the king of peace.
Can we talk about that for a moment? That he's going to be 80 years old this year. Like you might think, I have some mental issues that I don't deal with super well. I'm still struggling with my anxiety. I'm still struggling with self-worth. I'm still struggling with insecurity. These are the things I'm working on, right? He is 80 years old and he accepted someone else's Nobel Peace Prize because he's so desperate to have one that he doesn't even fucking care if it was meant for him and his actions in life.
Well, listen,
he's happy to just have one. Think of that.
If the presidency of the United States of America doesn't fulfill him, it doesn't fill the empty void in his cold, shriveled, dark fucking heart, a Nobel Prize ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
And certainly the fucking soccer Peace Prize ain't gonna do it.
Well,
somebody's Purple Heart that they were awarded from being wounded in combat, if that doesn't do it for him, I mean, what does? He's a sick fuck, Brittany Page.
I'll tell you what does. His giant dick.
Oh, I bet it is a massive, throbbing, veiny rod of a cock. I bet.
So
I mean, if you listen to the Felch King, the King of Felch.
If you listen to Dr. Oz, Dr. Oz is in there scoping it all out for us. He's letting us know what's going on.
They're picking and choosing which medical data violates HIPAA and what doesn't. Like, look. Why is he not telling us his cholesterol level? Why is he not telling us his accurate weight? No. It's the testosterone that's off the charts.
Yeah.
You know what it means?
He's a man's man.
You know it means that the testosterone is probably just like a dribble out of a faucet. Just like his urine stream when he tries to pee at night because of his enlarged prostate.
The weakest Felch you've ever seen. So
we have to end on that. We have to end on the weakest Felch you've ever seen. We're ending there.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Did you have something else?
No.
Save it for next time.
Okay. Yeah. We should just wrap it up now.
Sometimes a show just goes way off the fucking rails. You know what I mean?
You have to learn to find laughs.
Oh, you have to.
Where you can.
Yes.
And, we have to balance that. We're going to
backload with laughter. We're going to start with all the fun.
It's important. Yeah. We got to cover the important stuff. And then we also got to find some moments to try to laugh. And I hope that you are finding those moments, balancing the work that we need to do to ensure that people are not harmed in our communities, while also trying to find ways to not just be suffering and thinking about the horrors at all times.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you on these or any other topics you'd like to hear from us on 657-464-7609. And of course, you can always email us. I doubt it @dollamore.com. I would ask earnestly, please. Not if you're on a fixed income, not if you're on retirement, not if you're on disability, not if you are struggling financially. But if you do have an extra $2 that you don't mind throwing away, we could make very good use of that to produce this show. You can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support and produce this show that way. We love and appreciate you, and we will see you next time. For Brittany Page.
That's me.
I am Jesse Dollamore. And this has been episode 960, almost to 1,000. This has been I Doubt It.